You know, it's just occurred to me that I've never really asked what you're doing when you're listening to my podcast or watching my podcast and listening to it at the same. I mean, you know, you do both. You do one. Or I don't know. One thing you don't do probably is just watch it without the audio. That'd be weird. But I don't know. Are you having a coffee? Are you eating? Are you driving? Exercising? Running from, I don't know, the wild neighborhood dog? I dated her once. What? Shut up. What I'm trying to say is I want you to feel free to do that and don't judge me because I want to have a sip of coffee from time to time. I'm talking for a long time for your pure amusement and entertainment. So chill out. All right, let's begin.
Welcome to My Friend Autism, a podcast providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones, with more than a few passionate rants thrown in for good measure. And now, here's your host, that autistic guy, Orion Kelly.
Welcome, my stars of Orion. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. And this is my podcast, My Friend Autism. Welcome to it. You can watch it and listen to it on my dedicated video podcast YouTube channel, which is called Orion Kelly Podcast. Or you can just listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. You people that just listen to podcasts, you're what we call people that listen to radio. You're the old grumpy people in the corner. I'm listening to my podcasts. Leave me alone. Okay, that was too entertaining for me, and I apologize. Let's do this. Autistic elopement. It's something that actually affects many autistic people and their loved ones. But you know what? It's actually quite a mystery, autistic elopement. So let's dig into this. Let's work out what it is, why it's actually crucial, and then we'll try and work out how we can understand it better and address it. So it's one of those scenarios that you've probably experienced if you are a parent or a carer, you know, a loved one of an autistic child, right? This is one moment, everything's okay, next moment, gone. You were distracted or you just turned your back or you're just talking to someone, gone. Kid's gone. Autistic kid, gone. Okay. This is a terrifying reality, by the way. And is it just me or these days when you see on the news kids that may have gone missing, as in they've walked off, what do you hear on the news report? The child that walked off has autism, right? Is an autistic child. And that's not even a joke. That's a sign that this is something we still haven't got to the bottom of. So when I talk about elopement, please don't think about heading off to Vegas to get married, okay? We're talking about in the context of autism. In the context of autism, elopement is very, very different to running off to get married. Although technically, if the goal was to get married and you ran off to do it technically as an autistic person, that could be a form, but now I'm just muddying the waters and I apologize. I apologize. So let's start at the start. What is autistic elopement? Oh, by the way, I don't actually care if you don't have an autistic kid. If you have an autistic partner or an adult autistic friend, they elope. No, they don't, Orion. Yes, they do. All you're thinking about is some autistic kid just for no reason running off. Well, adults won't do that. What a load of rubbish. As an adult, I've eloped many times. So let's talk about it. Elopement, some call it wandering, which is, again, it's misleading. Okay. It's defined, so let's get this in our heads. It's defined as leaving a safe area or a safe person without permission or their knowledge, potentially placing that individual at risk. Okay. So you're in a safe area and you leave that safe area without the permission of others as a child or without telling anyone as an adult, potentially putting yourself at risk, and that is a risk you weren't aware of. Now, this behavior, very common in kids. Generally, very common in kids with developmental disabilities. That obviously includes autistic kids. Now, there are studies that have shown that around about 50% of all autistic kids elope in their life at least once. It's clearly a lot more than once, but we're basically saying that as a rule, you're looking at half of all autistic kids on the planet are going to elope at least once in their lifetime. Now, sure, all kids can wander. Absolutely. But see, autistic elopement is unique. And why is it unique? Well, it often involves challenges with communication. And this is really important, understanding danger. So it involves a lack of or a complete non-existent understanding of potential dangers. Classic examples. You could be down the street with your kid, autistic kid, and they decide, I'm going to cross the road now by myself, and they run onto a busy street into oncoming traffic. Or you're down at the beach, for example, and out of nowhere, your autistic child, who's just on the beach having fun with you, runs towards the water, runs towards the surf, unaware of the risks involved. So many real-life examples as well. Let's say, you've got an autistic child who just loves a particular playground, a particular place where they go regularly and they get to climb and play and have fun, right? Okay. So they love that. They know where it is because you go there all the time. And one day they decide, yep, I'm leaving the house. Don't need to tell mum and dad, they're busy. They might not want me to bother them, or they're just plain busy. I'm just going to wander down. I'm going to head down to my favourite place and have some fun at the park. Now, I don't have any knowledge or awareness of the potential dangers as I make my way from home to the park, but that's not relevant to me because I'm not aware of it. I can't be bothered by it if I'm not aware of it. So off I go. A child could feel overwhelmed if they're at school and the school does one of those drills. Now, by the way, fire drills, emergency drills, evacuation drills, they're absolutely required. They're absolutely required to make sure all kids are aware of what to do in such circumstances, which we all hope will never happen. So there's no problem with them happening. But of course, let's say you do it, right? You're at school and then all these bells and whistles or alarms or whatever start loudly ringing, and then you got teachers on loudspeakers or those bloody, what do you call them, those bullhorn megaphone things, and there's sounds coming out of speakers and there's alarms going off and people yelling, follow me, Do you understand how triggering that is for an autistic child? We've got noises, we've got lights, we've got people everywhere, absolute sensory overload. What are they going to do? They're going to elope. Everyone's supposed to follow the loud, screaming teachers and all the, busy, loud noises of kids congregating in this unexpected drill. They're going to get as far away from there as they can. They're going to run away, find a quiet place that they know exists in their school because they go there, and they're going to just feel safe. So I want to be clear. There are reasons behind autistic elopement. I mean diverse, individual reasons behind autistic elopement. By the end of this podcast, you will absolutely know why autistic elopement isn't just, don't autistic kids just run off for no reason? What's wrong with them? They're gone. No autistic child that elopes, for the most part ever in the history of humanity, has run off, eloped for no reason. It just isn't how the brain works. Let's go through some facts. I reckon this will knock you over. This will knock you on your socks. Tell me in the comments, wherever you put your comments. I don't know. The thing is, do people comment when they listen to podcasts in the audio only form? Because where am I supposed to see that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're listening to my podcast in the audio only form, how do you tell me what you think is good and bad? I don't know. Maybe go to the YouTube channel and just do it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, research shows, listen to this. Nearly 50%, as you know, of autistic people attempt to elope at least once in their lifetime, but more importantly, at least once after about the age of 4. So it starts early. Now, this is 4 times higher than their neurotypical siblings or peers. Over 25% of autistic kids elope regularly. So, okay, 50% definitely going to do it at least once in their lifetime, and that's being very safe statistically. A quarter of all autistic kids will elope regularly. Does that, hello, right? 65% are at risk of that just sounded weird, traffic-related injuries or death. Do you understand? I mean, yeah, not good. 65% of autistic people are at risk of traffic-related injuries or death due to elopement. 24% face the danger of drowning. 35% of elopement cases involve police or emergency services. Like I said, when you see it on the news, right? There's police in and there's emergency services in, all sorts of, there's volunteers, helping to look for the child. And they talk about how it's hard because they're told not to yell out their name. This is an autistic child walking around and yelling out their name, and they're going to think they're in trouble or something. So they, and they're very respectful and they do it in a quiet way, or they might play a certain song or a show the child likes. Again, it's very child orientated, but I am going to talk about adults too, because I've done it to people. I've done it to, younger in life, in my kind of early 20s, I've been on dates and eloped. Legit just got up out of a restaurant and walked home. All right, so let's, I'm telling you. So let's talk about this. More than 50% of families report levels of stress due to elopement high enough to impact their mental health. Not good. I mean, all the risks for autistic people, just horrific. But the idea that basically half of all families with autistic people who elope are causing, frankly, this type of PTSD level stress is an incredible insight through research, not through me, incredible insight into the life of not only being autistic, but into the life of being the loved one of an autistic person. And I could have told you that, but the research presumably makes it more credible. And this is just a side rant quickly, but I'm tiring, by the way, guys, of I can make 1,000 videos on a topic because I'm autistic. I have an autistic son. I have experience. I do immense amounts of research, with the over thousands of videos that I've made and podcasts I've made. But most people don't give a shit until the exact same thing is said by research shows, journal article proved, academic said, doctor said. That's frustrating, man. I'm not calling you a man if you're not a man, but I mean, I don't mean it in a gender way. I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, it's like the way you would say it. How do you say it? What do they do in Seinfeld? You need a better clown name than that, like Bozo. Bozo the clown. You're living in the past, man. You hung up a clown from the 60s, man. It's from Seinfeld. I apologize. All right. So listen to this. Let this hit you in the nose. Drowning is the leading cause of death in autistic children. Now, this isn't an elopement stat. No. It's often linked to elopement, but this isn't just an elopement stat. Drowning is the leading cause of death in autistic kids, and it is often linked to elopement-style wandering behavior. So keep that in mind. Not to mention 65% of all autistic people who elope are at risk of injuries or death from traffic-related accidents, situations. There's a 2021 report. This was from the National Autism Association. Listen to this. It revealed accidental deaths account for 91% of total mortality in autistic children aged 14 and younger. Of those, 74% are due to drowning, 18% traffic-related fatalities. Do I need to talk? Like, isn't this podcast as valuable if I just stop and we just sit in our own silence? Seriously, 2021 National Autism Association reported accidental deaths that didn't need to happen account for 91% of total mortality in autistic kids 14 and younger. Little autistic people. I haven't frozen. I'm just not saying anything. Just stew in that for a bit. You don't need me to stew in that. Stew in that for a bit. Have a sip of my coffee. Stew in that. I mean, seriously, guys. Is anyone listening? Does anyone care? Okay. What causes autistic elopement? Why does it happen? Let's dig. Let's dig deep. Because they're unique and individual. Let's be clear. Autistic elopement isn't random. It's goal-oriented. Yes, you heard me. I'm going to say it again. Autistic elopement isn't random. It's goal-oriented or orientated, whatever the bloody word is. I think it's oriented, goal-oriented. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. But even more than that, oh yeah, whatever, Orion. Okay, here we go. I will give you some of the most common reasons, common goals, common motivations why autistic people elope, wander, run away, whatever, it's bolt, whatever you want to call it. Let's just stick with elopement. Okay. Number one, so not random, reasons. Number one, curiosity. The world around us is a fascinating place. Now, for many autistic kids, many autistic people, elopement is our way of exploring it. If something catches our eye, catches our interest, we'll explore it. We may see something in the water, right? You're near the beach, you see something in the water, maybe it shimmers or glistens or maybe something pops up, right? Or the sounds of animals or birds in a park, but not anywhere like a distant part of the park. Curiosity. It drives us. Autistic people are endlessly curious. You know this. How many times do you want to say to the autistic person in your life, can you stop asking me questions? Enough of the follow-up questions. I said one word and you've asked 7 questions on this broader topic. You know, like it's a curiosity-driven brain. Now, what that means is curiosity-driven elopement leads autistic kids, autistic people, towards these things that we can find visually, physically, emotionally, mentally stimulating. So that's a curiosity driver. Unfortunately, that includes potentially dangerous environments. Do you ever have this experience? Could be an adult in your life. It could be a kid in your life. And let's say you're at a park. There's a sound or something catches their eye and they just go directly, like they're a reporter for TV, directly to the scene to file a report. They don't ask anyone. They don't tell anyone. They're just gone. Or you see them start to walk off. Where are you going? Yeah, and they won't. They've got no answer for you. What do you mean, where am I going? Any idiot knows I'm going over there to that thing, right? Curiosity. Yes, but I think there might be crocodiles over there. There's eastern brown snakes in that area of the park. They're deadly, right? They're not thinking about that kind of stuff. So, curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat, but geez, it's great for autistic people. I don't know. All right, here's another one for you. So let's talk about the senses. We're talking about autistic elopement for sensory overload, for, frankly, sensory stimulation, but also to simply escape the overload. As you know, we are hypersensitive or hyposensitive, an over or an under experience that's disproportionate to how neurotypical people would experience the senses. You don't need me to tell you the senses really go right through the gamut, okay? Oh, it's just noises. It's just bright lights. No, no, it's all the senses. Yep, some noises, bloody horrible. Lights, and we talk about smells and tastes, feeling, even the environment, as in all the factors, the people, the crowd. There's so many different factors. This is a big thing. Now, autistic people, as you well know, become overstimulated. We become dysregulated. And this then leads to us experiencing all sorts of things, meltdowns, shutdowns, dysregulation, an outburst, autistic rage, these types of things. Okay, but it also triggers elopement. Okay, so it's not random. When we are overwhelmed, dysregulated, eloping, frankly, is probably one of the best, easiest ways to escape. Bad area, bad environment, just get out. Go to a quieter place. Not comfortable, let's go to a more comfortable place. You know what I mean? Too loud, too noisy, too bright. Go to a darker place, quieter place. Less people. This could be looked at as like a fight or flight response. But can we be clear? This is just that. This is self-preservation, caveman style. This is not defiance. This is not random. This is not being misbehaved. This is legitimate and absolute self-preservation, survival instincts from sensory overload, from needing to escape a potentially or a clearly triggering environment. And I want to be clear, I say this so many times, and what the clear point I'm trying to convey when I say this is autistic people don't have to express their needs and feelings the way you do or neurotypical people do, because that's how it's done. So, for example, you might say, you know what, I'm over this place. It's too loud. I need to get out of here. So I'm going to go to the car and sit there. I'm going to leave, or I'm going to catch you later, or go. You explain what's happening and you tell them what you're going to do about it, right? That might be what you class as the standard way. An autistic person getting up and simply eloping from a scenario that's triggering them or overloading them is an autistic person saying, I need to get out of here. I don't feel safe. I have to get out of here. And in doing so, they're telling you that. So an autistic person eloping, regardless of the reason, is communicating with you in the elopement. Another example, another reason. Seeking a specific interest or place. Autistic people, we love interests. Not a massive fan of 700 hobbies or a jack of all trade, master of none. We like our interests, our passions, okay? They're strong. They're focused. They can be potentially obsessive, right? Hyper-focused, hyper-passionate. And these passions drive us. They can drive us, in this instance, to leave our current place, location, area, to seek out specific interests or places. Example, like to go to a favorite place or to seek out a specific interest. It could be, an object, gaming, information, TV, music, playground, favorite pet, things that they like, airports, planes, trains. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm leaving, I'm eloping, so I'm leaving an environment potentially into danger without telling anyone because I just really want to go to the airport and watch the planes. Or I saw a train, so I'm just going to walk over there and see if I can see it closer up. Or it's time for me to watch a show now. Or I saw a bloody animal. What am I going to stand there like a moron and go check out the animal? Right? It's the seeking of a specific interest or place. So how do we get into the mind? Let's start with autistic kids. Autistic kids, what captivates your kid? What lights them up? So I gave a few examples. A plane flies over, train goes by, something loud and noisy that captivates them. See, people think, oh, I don't like that. Yeah, that's right. Some autistic kids can be taken through a car wash and have a legit full-on meltdown. Others are fascinated by the mechanisms and the inner workings. It captivates them, different things that work. What is that for your autistic child? What is that for your autistic partner or loved one? The autistic adult in your life. Because like for me, a plane flies over and it's like I've been put in a trance and I stop and I'm just looking up. And then I might leave the area to go to my phone to get the app, the tracking app, where I can look and see what kind of plane it is, where it's come from, where it's going. I've just left to wherever my phone is, and then that'll interest me. And so if you get to know these types of things, our interests, our passions, it helps you anticipate and also prevent particular types of elopement. See, that this isn't preventing them still going towards that. This is preventing them eloping, which is going by themselves, potentially to danger. Communication challenges is another core reason. I've mentioned this already, but let's talk about this from a point of view of, for starters, autistic people are all individual. There are autistic people who have high, significant, daily care and support needs. In saying that, though, all autistic people have daily support and care needs, right? It doesn't mean they're all the same. No, they're not. But it's part of the diagnosis. There are things for example, I'm married, I have a wife. There are things that I need from my wife or the people around me on a daily basis that maybe a neurotypical partner would never ask for or need, right? I have support needs. There are things I need help with, So we all experience them differently. Some autistic children, some autistic adults have a level of needs that makes it hard for them to communicate. I mean, in the neurotypical fashion. In neurotypical standards, geez, you're limited with the speech, aren't you, mate? Yeah, your language skills aren't so great. Right? Well, this is, thanks for the feedback there, champ, but this is actually much more frustrating for the autistic person, because not only are you giving them crap and judging them because they can't speak or communicate in the way you'd like, but they have everything they need to do it. Inside of them, they just can't do it in the way you want them to do it. Right? So the frustration is there. There's this frustration of being unable to communicate my needs, my thoughts, my feelings in a way that you get. I'm doing it, you're just not seeing it or understanding it or reading it. Well, that's going to be pretty bloody frustrating. And in the end, I'm just going to, geez, I almost went off there. Try not to go off as much. Do people like me going off and on? I don't know. But, you're too bloody stupid to even give me a chance to, communicate with you in a way that works for me, because, God forbid you'd have to do anything to help me. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to fulfill the needs I've tried to communicate to you by just eloping. I couldn't tell you as a kid, Mummy, I'm really feeling icky and awkward and yucky and I just want to get outside. I want to go to the park and push things and touch things, and I want to go to the park, right? So they just head to the park because there's no way. They just can't, they can't get that connect. The communication challenges don't allow them, so they communicate to you by going to the park. So this is an easy fix, really. We're talking about supporting neurodivergent communication. What is the autistic person in your life's preferred form of communication? Some it's speech. Some like sign language. Some like assisted devices. Some decide, I'm going to communicate with you with just vocal noises or physical gestures or echolalia I'm going to use my favorite SpongeBob SquarePants character. So that's not my problem, right, as an autistic person. If you want to be a loved one of an autistic person, you need to get to know how they do it. Right? You need to get to know and you need to embrace it. It's going to significantly reduce the likelihood of this type of elopement. So it's not going to significantly reduce their ability to have their needs met. It's going to help it, right? Elopement is not the best option here. Elopement is not the best option for an autistic person to communicate their needs. If they're eloping to communicate their needs, you're failing the autistic person. This is the issue here. So please, for the love of God, the autistic person in your life needs to be able to communicate their needs to you in a way where you understand it and get it and can help them fulfill that, rather than them feeling like they've just got to elope to have it fulfilled or met. And by the way, a lot of autistic people might not be great at even knowing what's right in that moment. If I'm super dysregulated, if I'm basically melting down, I guess it's going to be pretty hard for me to rationalize what's actually good for me. And I'm just going to do the break glass emergency thing, which is I'm just going to get the hell out of here. So that's a really important one. I hope that makes sense and sings through. And just when you're thinking about all these, that I'm actually giving you reasons why there's motivations behind them. Also think back to the stats and how those stats can be, God, I hope decreased. We can decrease those horrible stat numbers through simple things like this. All right, here's another reason for you, my friends. I'm full of them. I'm full of it, all right. Routine disruptions. Oh, really? Is that right? So you're saying autistic people thrive on routines and structure and sameness and predictability? Really, they do. Why is that? Oh, that's right. Because it's dysregulating to constantly live in a world not built for us, not fit for us, and then you go ahead and just take everything that helps us and you throw it away. You alter it, you change it, you break it up. Not good. So this is a big one. Sudden change. This can be at work. New boss, new desk, lose your job, have a job, new role. School, teacher sick, new teacher, or new classroom, new timetable. There's at home, moving house, changing furniture, we're eating different food. You know what I mean? There's so many examples of how this distresses autistic people. Pure routine disruptions. Predictability and structure broken, plans broken, changes happening will trigger it. Am I saying don't ever let that happen? Of course not. Of course not. But what I am saying, don't ever let it happen, is don't ever let that happen without you at least addressing it with the autistic person. Okay? And these, again, come down to you, whether it's a child or an adult. It's something you're going to have to. So you know something's going to happen that's not what is supposed to happen. As soon as you know that, your first port of call is to address that with the autistic person, to put it on their radar in a non-confrontational, aggressive way. Put it on their radar. I know. As always, we do this. Tomorrow, instead of doing this, we need to do this for this reason. This is why we're doing this and why we have to do this. And this is why to the why to the why. And that you're satisfied now. You've got to do it because you're going to have to do that. But then we'll make time after that to do what we usually do here. You're providing all the information required. You're cutting them off at the pass. So you know this. I don't need to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you how to suck eggs. You get the deal. Routine disruptions, sudden changes, they're distressing. They're going to increase the risk of elopement. And why is that? This is very specific to if you're going to put me in the unfamiliar, if you're going to take me out of my comfort zone, I'm going to elope to my comfort zone, to the familiar. And I don't mean that in terms of like what we do in the shadows. though that would be a fun familiar to elope to. But what I'm saying is, I've gone off tangent now. Okay, humble apologies. New York City. Preparing your child or the person in your life for changes in their routine is going to help reduce the anxiety and the urge to elope. Make sense? Good. How about this one for a reason? Fun and playfulness. Would you believe that sometimes autistic elopement is actually about having fun? The thrill of being chased, the exhilaration of running freely. Probably have no shoes on, probably half dressed. How freeing is it just to run? Just to run barefoot on the grass or through the water or just run. Just get out there. Yeah. Absolutely strong motivation for autistic people to just do it because it would be fun. Oh, but it's dangerous. It's fun. Even when it's dangerous, it's fun. In fact, isn't it Psychology 101 that dangerous stuff is more fun and exhilarating than stuff that isn't dangerous? But nevertheless, this is actually why it's really important to keep calm during elopement moments, right? So that the kid, the partner, the person, the autistic person they're eloping, oh my God, how strong do you want to react, my friend? You're just making it worse. You're triggering them further and you're reinforcing the behavior, right? You got to stay calm in these situations. You don't want to just make this just a recurring thing. Because remember, if you're eloping because it's fun or you're just being cheeky or playful, and autistic people, by the way, are allowed to be cheeky and playful and have fun. There's no rule against that, right? Okay, so it's okay to do that. What makes something more fun? Someone yelling at you or telling you don't do that. Bloody hell, that's more fun, isn't it? Don't climb that fence. Oh, I mean, how good is climbing the fence now? It's 3 times better. Don't you jump on the trampoline like that. I mean, don't you dare run to the freeway. There's cars going real fast. You'll die. I'm telling you, mate, you're going to be dead. I'm telling you, you better stop now. If the cars don't kill you, I will. Oh, yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm leaving that there because I just think you don't need me to tell you that doing things that are fun and exhilarating is a bloody good motivator to do things, whether you're autistic or not. Let's talk about impulsivity. Autistic people can absolutely have impulsive behavioral challenges. Or we can be impulsive people. Fair enough. What does that mean? Well, we can simply go with it. We can act on impulse. That leads us to often act without really considering the consequences of our actions. This is absolutely an experience of autistic people. There's an impulsivity there. And we don't even turn our minds to the consequences. Now, this impulsivity obviously results in snap decisions. We're leaving a safe area. We're going here. We're doing this. We're getting out of here, right? We're eloping. And especially when combined with a limited awareness of potential dangers, this is a recipe for disaster. Not considering the consequences of the actions and a limited awareness of the dangers involved. So the reason sometimes is an impulsive reaction. Let's flow that through to the next one, which is about danger. So this lack of danger awareness, which is very, very much tied into impulsivity. This is a core autistic experience, not fully comprehending potential dangers in general. Okay. So leaving a safe area, like eloping, this, by the way, you think it's a safe area, but we're leaving it. Right? So to us, it isn't a safe area. We're going to a safe area. But in our minds, we're leaving what you class as a safe area to go where we class as a safe area. In reverse, we're leaving what we class as an unsafe area to go to an area that you class as an unsafe area. Do you see the issue here? Yep. It's simple. If we can't fully comprehend potential dangers associated with the current eloping activity, well, we're going to elope more, right? Doesn't that make sense? We're more prone to elope if we're doing it because there is no dangers associated with it. For us, we're going to a more safe place. So impulsivity and awareness of danger are key drivers in elopement. Your child isn't just trying to annoy you, have a tantrum. It isn't random. There are always reasons to elopement. Don't you think my list that's still going is proof of that? It really is still going. I've got a couple more, then I've got some strategies. So let's do this. The last couple is a desire to explore. Autistic people have a strong urge to explore. Now, we don't actually like new environments or new people and those kind of things, but not because we don't like new environments and new people. It's because the unknown is hard. But new environments, seeking out specific sensory experiences can actually really strongly drive some autistic people, not all, but some autistic people to wander away from the so-called safe areas to explore these new environments, seek out these new sensory experiences. This desire to explore is often linked to sensory seeking behaviors. And elopement very much incorporates sensory seeking behaviors. Final one, then let's do strategies. And this is big. Escaping from demanding situations. Elopement actually serves as a mechanism for autistic people to avoid stressful or challenging scenarios. So social interactions, for example, could be I'm on a date, okay? Or, you're doing an exam or a test. Stressful scenarios provide many demands and stresses on an autistic person who, as a rule, is already to a certain degree dysregulated by the world. Leaving that environment makes total sense. Eloping to escape demanding situations that we no longer have the regulation, right? The regulation to achieve. In other words, the phone battery has got down to a level so low that this isn't something it's going to have enough battery to cope with. Leaving, plugging it in, is the only option. Yeah, demanding situations can also be placed upon, you don't need exams and dates, and your family can do it. You wonder why they elope when it starts to get stressful or demanding. You can still get them to do things, but demand avoidance 101 will tell you shouldn't ever tell an autistic person just to flat out just do something. That's not how you should word that type of stuff, right? It just isn't going to work. And also, if it's, let's say, get dressed for school now. Okay, you've got underwear, you've got pants, you've got a top, you've got socks, you've got shoes. Probably got to go to the toilet, brush your teeth, maybe do your hair. Certainly not the autistic kids I've ever come in contact with. Okay. Well, shit, mate. That's a lot of demands. You just said get dressed now, but that's a lot of demands. You told me to do all that and do it now. I'm stressing about one step. Do you see what I'm saying here? Couple of examples. Would you like to get dressed now by yourself? Or would you like me to help you get dressed now? For a potentially younger child. Or you could say, would you like to get dressed before you have some breakfast or get dressed after breakfast? Could you please put on, this? Can you please put on a show I like? They're saying whatever. Absolutely happy to put on that show. Just need you to start getting dressed. I didn't say, you get dressed and I'll turn the TV on. Happy to put on the show. I just need you to start getting dressed. Physically show me you're starting to put on your uniform. That's the difference. $1,000. You're welcome. All right, let's go. Strategies. These strategies not only enhance safety, but they're going to provide peace of mind for the loved ones of autistic people. Strategies for autistic elopement. You need a safety plan. That's essential. This might be with your family, your school, support workers, loved ones, employers. Develop a comprehensive plan. What does it do? Well, it's going to outline potential triggers for elopement. This is the same as everything in life, isn't it? With workplaces and schools. It's always, they've got concerns of what your autistic kid's doing, and you're like, well, what are the triggers? What's triggered them? They don't know. Okay, well, let's identify what triggered them to get here, and then let's work out how we can mitigate that. Then you want to outline the emergency response steps. So who to call, where to look first. If you have this down and they rock up at your door and you go, okay, these are the places they like to go. You want to also have your child's personal information or your autistic loved ones' personal information. See, autistic adults may still live with parents or loved ones. Okay, so their information. You want to make sure the safety plan covers all the environments they frequently visit. Work, their home, their school, their favorite place to go, these types of things. Another strategy, reinforce safe zones. You need to make sure the autistic person in your life understands what a safe zone is. Let me drink. Yeah, what's a safe zone? They say, oh, the safe zone just by the freeway. No. I mean like your room or our backyard or your office or your classroom or the principal's office. They need to, so areas where they know they're safe. Someone's there to look after them or look out for them. All right, you need to be very clear. Simple language, if you need to write it down or pictures, visually, whatever, to help them understand where their safe zones are. Make sure you address communication challenges. So there are autistic people who struggle with verbal communication. Provide tools, pictures, exchange systems, sign language, speech-generating devices, tools that can reduce frustration and help the autistic person in your life express their needs effectively. See, we're empowering them to communicate, to address many of the underlying motivations that lead to elopement. I'm going to say this one, not to be rude or, sound bad, but if there's an autistic person, child or adult in your life who you feel like elopement can cause significant dangers for them, you could look at securing the environment. I'm not saying putting them in jail. I'm talking about taking physical safety measures that are crucial. What could that look like? And I don't want to give you this kind of advice because I'm not an expert, but I mean, obviously, if that's the case, well, then you probably shouldn't just have doors that are wide open or just left unlocked. So windows and doors, you got to be smart about it. They're not imprisoned. Got to be smart about it. Some might like those GPS tracking type watches, bracelets, devices. So you kind of have some sort of safety net of where they are. That would make it easy to find them, obviously. Visual reminders. Do you have traffic lights? You could use, if they like that, if they like trains or planes or whatever it is. Yeah, like stop signs, color codes for doors, for areas. These are a safety net. What they do? They buy you time so you can respond to what their needs are and help them before they elope. Safety skills. This is big. Teach them safety skills. That makes a big difference, I'm telling you. So if you're constantly reinforcing to the autistic person how to recognize danger signs, in other words, well, mate, you can run into the beach because the water feels good and it sounds good, but about 2 steps in, it's going to be so deep that you won't stand anymore. Like you could drown. So you need to understand there's deep water. You understand rips work, different things, tides, this kind of stuff. Well, okay, great. Cars are fascinating to watch, but see those traffic lights? They're important for us and for the cars. Explain to them how that all works. Support networks, super important. You can't do this alone, my friend. You cannot do this alone. You have to find, whether it's online or in person, community-based, family-based, work-based, school-based support networks to work together. Social stories, super important as well. Now, these can be social stories that are visual. You know, you can, I guess social stories can really anything these days. You can make them a book, you can say them out, you can say them verbally, pure pictures, animations. These are really fantastic tools to teach autistic people about safety, about boundaries. And they provide, as you know, social stories are clear, step-by-step guidance on particular situations, what you need to do, staying in a designated area, asking for help. It reinforces the things they need to know, how they can convey in their way. They have a need to reinforce the type of behavior that will hopefully stop them from having the need to elope. For some, it means collaborating with first responders. It means actually building relationships with emergency services. If that's something you need to do, I would just come up with a one-page doc, right? You're talking about a picture of the person, their details, a type of safety plan you've come up with them, things that they can use, and you can just give to them ready to go. That really helps in time-sensitive situations of elopement, because these stories don't always end well. Also, you could look into the sensory-friendly alert systems like we've talked about, comfortable, discreet devices that can be worn, or, how else would they, well, no, they'd only be worn, I guess, worn attached, that, provide you with some sort of level of, okay, well, we can pinpoint where they could be. And I want you to listen to this one. Structured physical activity. Yes, sometimes an autistic kid or an autistic person may need to exert some sort of physical energy. Push, pick up, throw, slam, move. Physical outlets are critical. I just need you to know this, okay? I don't care what it is, trampolines, swimming, going in nature, running. So honestly, for my experience having an autistic kid, sometimes like, mate, I need you to push this lounge to the other side of the room for me. I mean, you got to get down, you got to use your knees and your legs, you got to really push hard to get that couch, to move a couch from behind and push it. By the time they get to the other side of the room, and they won't, they're completely puffed. They've exerted physical energy. They've released tension. It meets a sensory need. It reduces the impulse to elope. I really, can I just say, and I know we've been going for a long time and you probably don't even listen anymore, but can I just say that neurotypical people can often misinterpret physical exertion, physical activity, as like aggressive or threatening or violent behavior. But an autistic person is, in fact, actually doing something that is meeting a sensory need, meeting a physical need, that actually reduces the dangers that you think are happening. Like they might pick something up, and that the strength of picking something up is for them is helping them. And, oh, well, don't throw it. And, right? Or they might get something and throw it, but it's because it was hard to throw or move something or kick something or push something. I get where you're coming from, but these things are done for a reason. Like, again, not random. So what's the best way to do that?
My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. Get all the episodes and maybe even grab a copy of his book, Autism Feels, An Earthling's Guide, at orionkelly.com.au. I mean, ball's in your court, but it's not a bad read.
Now, autistic elopement is triggered by basically an endless array of things. But at the core is an inability to regulate ourselves in a world designed to dysregulate us. If you want to learn more about mastering regulation in a neurotypical world, I've got a playlist on my primary YouTube channel, obviously Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, called Autism and Dysregulation. And thank you for allowing me to smash my own microphone with my finger as I was trying to itch my nose. I thought it looked fantastic. Anyway, you guys are the best. And by you guys, I mean you. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll see you next time. Then again, I think Digby says that for Do you say that for me in the closer? I think you do.
Thanks for listening to My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. To binge all the episodes, check out the YouTube channel or grab a copy of his book. Visit orionkelly.com.au. Thanks again, and see you soon.